everybody.
Hello, hello. Welcome to another MSI Insider livestream.
My name is Erik.
And I'm Mike.
And we're going to talk a little bit about some new motherboards.
Yeah, we had a lot of graphics card stuff in the, in the past.
And that's not over yet.
No, that's not over yet.
Yeah.
And of course, last week we had our CS livestream. We already briefly introduced some of our new motherboards there, but today we're going to talk about these boards in more detail. There are two generations actually, because it's both Intel and AMD for their B-series. So basically well, for Intel, B-series is their mid-range chipset.
Yeah.
So they have Z-series in the high end, they have B-series in the mid-range, and they have H in the more entry level. For AMD, it used to be the same. But now B-series is both their entry level and their mid-range.
They made it quite complex with the naming.
Yeah, later we'll get some more details about that. But we're going to talk about all the B-series for AMD. So that's B840 and B850. And the B860 from Intel.
We're not
That's
going to talk about
nice, 840,
we're not going to talk about age?
About what?
Age?
Age.
That's for later.
Your age?
No. Age. I'm not sure if still NDA, no, right?
Age? What do you mean with age?
The other chipset, the third entry level one, the fourth.
Oh no, it's not on the age.
Oh, okay, so age A10. We're not going to talk about it today.
That age, I thought like age as a number,
No,
like how old
no,
it is.
No.
Well, that is also introduced by Intel, but we don't have any age A10 board yet. So today we will stick to
a few months later.
B860.
We also have a giveaway. If you're on Twitch or YouTube, you can click on the Gleam link. Otherwise, go to msi.com/2/insider. And today we have a Steam voucher for your wallet. I think we still have some game codes left, right? Maybe we need to give away next week.
Yeah. Which one? Which game?
Star Wars, probably.
Star Wars? Okay.
Yeah, we will keep giving them away until somebody
played that one, right?
finished the first level.
Was it good?
I was
still stuck.
yeah, indeed. Let's maybe go to the slide, Mike?
Yeah, because we have a lot of content today.
Yeah.
But let's first start with Intel, the CPUs, the platform. So also the different chipsets. So Intel with Arrow Lake S, so that's the Core Ultra 200S series. Intel launched one chipset at first, that's Z890. That was late last year. And now they also introduced B860 and H810. As mentioned before, the Z series is high-end for Intel, B series is mid-range, and the H series is entry-level.
So normally with C, Intel always launches the K CPUs, the overclockable CPUs. And now with B and H810, they will launch the non-K CPUs, the normal non-overclocking CPUs.
Well,
but
not overclockable, it's not entirely true. More about that later.
Yeah, okay. But anyway.
Yeah, but no unlock multiplier.
Yeah.
So here is an overview of the differences between these chipsets. All of them can do PCI Express Gen 5 nowadays on the PCI Express slot, so for the graphics card. On Z890 and B860, there is also PCI 5.0.
Let me talk a little bit about PCI Express, because that's PCI Express on the VJ slot. Because that's quite interesting. Yesterday we also had a training from NVIDIA about the new RTX 50, and one of the questions was, will this matter? And NVIDIA actually had the same answer like what we normally say, well, for gaming, it doesn't help a lot, but of course for professional applications, this can make a difference. So if you have two GPUs or even one, and certain professional applications, and nowadays, then we're normally not talking only about rendering, but also AI.
And maybe in the future for gaming as well, but that's still uncertain.
Yeah. But there you have a benefit, and of course, then we're not talking about 30% or something, but yeah, their bandwidth can make a difference. Okay, Mike?
Yeah, because like even high-end graphics cards on like a Gen 4 slot, I don't think you will lose much. At least not at this point.
No.
With the current technology. Thunderbolt 4 is of course something that was present on all Z890 boards, but this is also a capability for B and H series. That doesn't mean that it will be on all boards, but
people want to talk about AMD. After we have a few slides about Intel,
there will be AMD for sure.
A lot of AMD.
Yeah. Because we'll only talk about one Intel chipset today and two AMD ones. Overclocking on Intel, if you want to overclock your CPU, officially that's only possible if you combine a Z-series chipset with a K-series CPU. That's also the only way you will have an unlock multiplier. There is still a trick where you can do a little bit of overclocking on a B-series as well, but it's not the officially Intel overclocking way, I would say. And it's also not, if you want to do extreme overclocking, K-series and Z is the way to go. Memory overclocking you will find on Z-series and B-series, but not on H810. In terms of PCI Express lanes, it also differs per different chipset. So 34 lanes on Z890, now with B860, that's 24 lanes, and 16 lanes on H810. Of course, that matches with the PCI Express slot, which is times 16, and you don't have any other Gen 5 lanes available for M.2 SSDs, for example, on the H. Then the DMI is connected by Gen 4 as well, with 8 lanes on Z890, and that's 4 lanes for B860 and H810.
And DMI, to be clear, that's the communication between the
CPU and the
PCH and the CPU.
Yeah. So PCH is basically the chipset.
Chipset, indeed, yeah.
A maximum display output, of course. In order to use this, you need integrated graphics. Not all CPUs have this. So if there is an F in the CPU name, there is no integrated graphics. Otherwise, there is.
And this slide shows you what is
possible
officially or possible indeed from Intel, because we can do a lot of crazy things.
Yeah.
And make a lot of different decisions.
For example, also if we want to make a more affordable model, we will not include the full feature set, whereas for other models we will add more.
This is what officially maximum support is, but we can also add an extra chip on it. Like Skeet's asking, what about Thunderbolt 5? Well, not on these entry-level mainboards we're talking today about, because it doesn't make any sense. However, we could in fact put there like a Thunderbolt 5 chip on
For
it.
example, Z890 Godlike comes with a Thunderbolt 5 adding card, for example. And that indeed, then it supports it. But by default, it's Thunderbolt 4 from Intel side. So in terms of display outputs, if you have integrated graphics, 4 screens for Z890, 4 for B860, and up to 3 for H310. But again, like Eric already mentioned, it differs per model, and that doesn't mean that all motherboards will have this many display outputs. So that's something to keep in mind if you're searching for a new motherboard. Apart from the new chipsets, Intel also introduced a whole lot of new CPUs, and these are the non-K models. So K, as mentioned before, those have an unlock multiplier, so they're very suitable for overclocking. These are not made for overclocking. So the multiplier is always locked. Also, if you put one of these CPUs on a Z-series chipset, you need the combination of a Z-series chipset and a K-series CPU in order to have that unlock multiplier. Basically, they have the whole lineup from the lower end Core Ultra 5s, still not really low end because still actually a whole lot of cores, starting from 10 cores, all the way up to the Core Ultra 9, 285, which is a 24-core processor. So a lot of cores on these CPUs. These are the regular models. As you may have already noticed, only a few F-SKUs in this generation. I think in the previous generation... Can still change, but at least for now.
It's early days.
Yeah, these are the models that they introduced.
Normally what Intel can also do, they have a refresh with more Fs and a bit higher clock speed.
Yeah, could be. But I think like previous generations, they had quite a lot of F SKUs as well. In this overview, only 2.
Might also be because of the factory. That,
also possible, it can be many reasons.
Production planning, etc.
Then, apart from the regular models and the F SKUs, there are also T SKUs. This is also something they had in earlier generations, and basically these are the low power CPUs. So they are officially 35 watt TDP. They can go beyond that, of course, in turbo mode, but they have a lower power consumption, but that also means you get lower performance. And technically, if you get a non-T SKU, you can still power limit it yourself to make it more efficient, basically.
Yeah, we also have a function in the BIOS. It's a shortcut. If you have a 65 watt CPU, you can directly limit it down to 35 watts.
Yeah, you can use a shortcut. You can do it manually exactly to the values you want.
Indeed.
Probably that's also why I don't think many people that build their own PC would choose for a T.
No, but I have a home server and there is a T CPU inside.
Yeah, I think in pre-builds you sometimes see it, especially like very small builds.
Yeah, this is a small build.
Yeah, but if you build a small system yourself and you use an aftermarket motherboard, then you can also set this manually. So then,
in the past, it was something special for the business side for Intel. They had configurable TDP, so you could either have a CPU of 35 watt. You could also sell as a 25 watt. Or in the BIOS you could adjust it, but nowadays almost each high-end or let's say mainstream BIOS has this function.
Yeah, it has this function indeed. I think they had even more flavors in the past because you had T as well, but you also had S. S was also a lower power one.
Yeah, I remember,
So
but I don't know what S was special for.
That was also a low power one, but I think it was back in the day 45 watt TDP, and I think the T was even lower then, something like that. But yeah, now for the low power ones are the T SKUs, and they also have them for the.
For prices, please check your local reseller because they can vary per country. So we didn't bother to put them in.
Yes, correct. Also, I'm not sure if these are all in the market already. They are already listed on ARC, it's called, on Intel.
The T's are mostly for system integrators, you know, OEMs.
But the same for these as well.
I'm not even sure if the T's are available in box.
No, usually tray only, I would say. Yeah. Then another interesting topic for Intel is the updates they made to improve performance on the latest generation Core Ultra 200S series processors. So basically Intel at launch last year
for Arrow Lake.
For Arrow Lake, indeed, Arrow Lake S. They were not entirely satisfied with all the results they saw, and
I think everybody had the question marks, right?
Yeah, I think multi-threaded performance was really good, but gaming performance
was disappointing.
Was lower than a lot of people expected, I think. Still, gaming efficiency was very good.
Actually, the problem with game performance, it was lower than the previous 4900K.
Yeah, correct.
That was the big problem. You have a new generation, and the TDP was cut in half, the power usage.
Power usage was way lower, but also like the power consumption per frame was a lot better. But like the total number of FPS wasn't it slightly higher on the 14 gen compared to the new Ultra series. Intel did some optimizations, so there is, for example, a new management engine that helps with optimizing some processes, and that will give you better performance in certain situations. Here you see an overview of what Intel claims, the steps that they made. Basically the white line you see in the middle is the baseline, and that is how it performed at launch. So that's also what the reviews you probably read are based on. So that's the baseline. And then the bars you see is what Intel now claims with the performance increase with these new updates.
But we never listen to what Intel says, so...
No, so we also conducted our own testing, so Ruud helped us out with that, and Ruud saw that in gaming, he saw on average about 8% gaming performance increase. Of course, this differs per game title. So this is an average. There are some games where it will be a very small difference. There are some games where it will make a much bigger difference. But on average, Ruud saw 8% better gaming performance with the new BIOS, the new management engine. Where we actually saw something that got worse is the memory latency, because that one got a bit higher. Intel was also honest about this. They also listed here in their slide that
work in progress.
Yeah, that the memory latency actually got a bit worse with the update. So that's interesting that they still managed to get better gaming performance despite the higher memory latency. But that is the case. And for multi-threading performance, I think that was already very good on these CPUs, and it remained the same basically. So it is mostly for gaming that you will see the biggest difference in performance with these new updates. Let me quickly explain you how you can get the best performance on these new CPUs, because maybe you already have this platform and you're wondering what to do in order to benefit from this. So make sure to update your BIOS. So you have to be in the Intel planned release 5, so PR5 BIOS. I think for basically all models.
That doesn't sound good. Like the 5th version.
Well, there's a planned release. You always have these updates. That can go quite far. But yeah, nothing to worry about. Planned release 5, make sure to update to one of those BIOSes. You'll find them on the support page of the motherboard. And I think we already have this available for basically every motherboard. At least the ones I quickly checked before this stream already had this up on our website. What you also need is management engine 19.0.0.1854. So that's the latest Intel management engine. If you get the PR5 BIOS, then the firmware version for this management engine is already integrated in a BIOS. You also need the management engine driver, and in order to do so, make sure that your Windows is fully updated. So if you have this new BIOS version, if you have the latest Windows version, then you will be running that latest management engine. And that is required to get that best performance out of this generation.
Now, in the past, we always said that you need to have best performance mode as power mode selected to get the best performance. However,
at launch, that was indeed the case.
Yeah,
because
however,
we
that's
saw
now
big
also
differences.
fixed.
Yeah.
So now you can also run in balance mode, which is better for your overall power consumption.
Yeah. So indeed, when this generation was launched, you got quite a big performance hit.
Yeah.
When you were in balance compared to the best performance mode, and by default Windows is imbalanced. So back then we advised manually set this to the best performance mode to get the best performance out of this. Now that's not necessary anymore because now it will also perform perfectly fine in balance mode indeed. Then let's head over to AMD.
Yeah.
Because I already saw some people in the chat that were curious
More
about
people waiting
AMD.
for AMD.
Let's first have a brief overview of all the chipsets, because AMD, of course, introduced two new chipsets, B850 and B840. Here you see the full lineup also with X870, X870 and B650 in there, so you can compare them also in terms of specification. It's actually a little bit interesting because they now call it B-series also for their more entry-level chipsets, so B840. But basically,
Used to be A620.
yeah, basically this is like the newer version of A620. That's how I would see it indeed. In terms of feature set, so on B850, optionally there is a PCIe 5.0 slot, and there's always PCIe 5.0 on the M.2. On B840, this is not available, so that's not PCI Express Gen 4. In terms of USB, so for X870 and X870E, the higher end chipsets that were already launched last year, those supported USB 40 gigabit per second. That has been reduced to 20 gigabit per second for B850, and for
minimum required.
Minimum required.
Yeah.
Yes, correct. And 10 gigabit per second for B840.
Yeah.
In terms of overclocking, and this is a little bit different than Intel, because Intel officially only supports CPU overclocking on their Z-series. AMD also does this, well, usually we would say on the B-series, but now that's not the case anymore because they
It's only
also
B850.
Yeah, only B850. So B840 does not support CPU overclocking. B850 does support CPU overclocking, and both of them also support memory overclocking. Also from the CPU side, this is a little bit different because where for Intel you need a K-SKU CPU, this is not the case for AMD. So it's also not, well, they don't have K-SKUs, but they have X-SKUs, but also with a non-X-SKU, you can still overclock on AMD if you have the correct chipset.
Tom has a question about the 5090. Do you need a fast CPU? Depends on what games you're playing. If
And
you
also
have
what resolution you're playing.
Also,
also makes
yes.
a big difference.
Yeah, indeed.
So
Because
basically, the easier the game is to run, so like esports titles or older titles,
Counter-Strike.
and the lower the resolution, the more CPU limited you become, so the less of a difference your GPU will make. On the other end of the spectrum, if you want to play 4K resolution or even higher,
AAA games.
AAA games indeed, with fully ray traced, all those kind
All
of
eye
things.
candy.
Yeah. Then it becomes very GPU limited, so then your CPU makes less of a difference and your GPU will make a bigger difference.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the rule of thumb. Of course, left and right, there are a couple of exceptions of certain games that run very well GPU bound or CPU bound.
Alan is saying we can maybe OC B for 850. Sorry, B. What is it? 840. What are names? They're
840.
driving me crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, we talk later about that.
But B840.
No, about overclocking on these models.
Yeah. That's right. In terms of PCI Express lanes, also differs per model. So 36 lanes for B850, 34 lanes for B840. We already talked about X-series CPU and non-X-series CPU because that is what we had in the 7000 series, but not yet in the 9000 series. That has also changed because a new model has been added to the Ryzen 9000 series lineup, and that is a Ryzen 5 9600. There was already a Ryzen 5 9600X. Both of them are 6-core processors with simultaneous multi-threading, so 12 threads. The difference is in the clock speed. So the X is clocked slightly higher. And the new 9600 may, at least at this point, be a little bit hard to get.
Well, it's officially for system integrators.
Exactly.
So there's also no box version available.
At least not at this point. I don't know for the future if that will remain the case.
Most likely. I mean, it looks interesting if you can push the price lower, and especially with the new B840 and 50. Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
But at least in the near future, this is something that you can expect to see mostly in pre-builds.
But maybe also in the separate retails, sold separately as bulk or tray.
Yeah, indeed. So that remains to be seen how well it will be available in different zones. At this point, price also unknown, partly because of this, of course. The prices for the other models you can see in overview. But that's the new Ryzen 5 model. By the way, also overclockable. So despite not being an XQ on AMD, you can still overclock this.
So what does the X mean?
I think it's like the extreme, usually higher clocked version. In the past, they also always had higher TDPs. That's not always the case anymore because still like the 9700X, 9600X are both 65 watt parts indeed. But I think from AMD side, it stands for extreme, I believe. Same for the chipset, by the way. They also have the X. Then briefly talk about BIOS. So our latest BIOS version, not even in beta BIOS anymore. Now it's also the stable version with a Giza 1.2.0.2b. This introduces a couple of new features. One of them is latency killer, but we will give you some more details about this later. Benchmark results as well. So that is new in this new BIOS version with this Giza code, as well as improved overclocking capability for high density DDR4 or DDR5 memory modules. So those are usually the larger memory modules with bigger capacities.
And for them.
And for them as well.
Yeah.
You will see better overclocking performance on those. Then it's time to go through some lineups. So let's start with Intel.
Going back to Intel.
Yep. We will jump back and forth throughout the stream because, of course, these boards also share many of the same features. So you will see Intel, AMD back and forth all the time. On Intel, this will be at launch, so it doesn't mean that this is the full lineup. There will be more models in the future for sure.
No, it will mean for sure. We know there are already more models.
Yeah, there will be more models. Yes, for sure.
First wave.
Yeah, first wave at launch, 4 Pro models. The one with the M-A Wi-Fi is a micro ATX model. The other are all ATX models. And then within the MAG series, 1 micro ATX, which is the Mortar, 1 ATX, the Tomahawk, and then in the MPG series, we will also have a mini ITX model, the MPG P860i Edge TI Wi-Fi. But I think that one will be available slightly later than the other models. When we compare the previous generation, so B760 with the new generation B860, you see that there's more PCI Express Gen 5, where it used to be only on the PCI Express slot. Now you will also find it on the M.2. Thunderbolt 4 is, of course, an addition that was not available yet on B760 and is available on certain B860
And Thunderbolt 4 is at the same time USB 4.
Yeah. Easy DIY features, we already had a couple on B760, but you will find even more on B860. We will go through the different DIY features later in this live stream. In terms of networking, also a nice upgrade, so Wi-Fi 6E and 2.5 gigabit LAN on B760, and now you will get full speed Wi-Fi 7 and 5 gigabit LAN on B860.
So full speed Wi-Fi 7, that's 320 megahertz.
Yeah, correct.
Where a lot of other boards have only 160.
Yeah. Vacton says, Mike, have a drink. That is a very good idea.
I'm doing the same. Well, you know, our Coke machine ran out of cans.
Yeah, and so who probably caused that?
Me earlier today. But I have to resort to water.
Oh, too bad.
I will survive.
Another thing you will find on these motherboards is the 8-pin PCIe power connector on the bottom for better PCI Express power excursion. That's also something we already had on the higher end boards, so Z890 also has this, also the AMD boards, and now also on B860.
Yeah.
And the JF1 connector. More about that later. Then let's head over to AMD. Here you also see an overview of the different segments. So in the Pro series, 5 models. One of them is an 840. This is a B840-P Wi-Fi. Then there are 4 B850 models, of which 3 are micro ATX with the M as an addition, and 1 ATX, so without the M. Again, in the MAG segment, you will find both Mortar, the micro ATX motherboard, and Tomahawk, the full ATX motherboard, and in the MPG series, the B850 Edge TI Wi-Fi. So this is not the B850i. That means that this is a full ATX motherboard. We also have this model right here. So later in the stream, we will show you all details of this board.
Yeah, and most boards indeed have the BIOS flash button.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Then let's also compare B650 to B850, so previous generation to current generation. PCI Express 5.0 on both the PCI Express slot and the M.2. In terms of connectivity, also a nice upgrade in LAN from 2.5 to 5 gigabit LAN, and again Wi-Fi 6E to the full speed Wi-Fi 7, the 320 megahertz, and again more easy DIY features on this new generation. As mentioned before, B840 should more be compared to the A series in the previous generation, so that will be A620 if we compare the two of those. You will also see that the Wi-Fi is upgraded from Wi-Fi 6E on the...
I think we're doing that quite good. Top to bottom we have Wi-Fi 7 full
and also
speed
the full
with the
speed
320.
version. Yeah. So that's indeed quite a big upgrade compared to the previous generation. On B840 you will still find 2.5 gigabit LAN, so that is the same as in the previous generation.
Should be okay.
Yeah. Better thermals, so on more boards you will find, for example, heat sinks on the VRM. That was not the case on all A620 boards, but that is a more common thing on B840.
I wouldn't say all of them will have, because maybe some cheaper ones will come out later, but at this moment, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure if we will have without heatsinks. It is possible, but at least at this point you will find heatsinks.
Yeah.
And again, more easy DIY features also on these more affordable motherboards. Shall we start with our first giveaway for today?
Yeah, I can try that.
So if you haven't participated yet, go to msi.com/2/insider.
Is this week? How do we see that?
It should be this
15th,
week.
yeah.
Or if you're watching on Twitch or YouTube, you can also follow the direct link to Gleam that our bot will post in the chat once every 5 minutes. Within Gleam, you can perform...
6 maybe.
6 maybe?
Yeah.
6 minutes?
Yeah,
Is that the timer?
Yeah.
A slow bot.
Well, nobody is allowed to spam, so we shouldn't include the bot.
Our bot is.
Our
bot is the exception.
Okay. Yeah, so first winner, Just in W.
Justin W, congratulations. Yeah. You won our first Steam Wallet code.
And thank you with the loyalty bonus.
Yes.
Always appreciate it.
So also make sure that if you sign up, if you're a returning visitor, make sure to claim your loyalty bonus because you'll have a slight edge in the giveaway.
Did you already say how to join? No? Okay.
Yes, I did.
Oh, yeah. Somebody asked it, so good.
Yeah. Then let's head over to the performance of these motherboards.
Vecht Thomas right. Eric smile because your face says did I turn the water off at home. Well, I told Michiel I'm annoyed today because I don't have
Coke.
I don't have Coke. Yeah. So yeah, this is how we look without Coke. Can you guys imagine? And I'm talking about Diet Coke. I'm not talking about different Coke.
No.
No.
So what's the white stuff under your nose?
I wouldn't know.
Let's head over to the VRMs of these motherboards, because these boards have quite a bit upgraded VRMs compared to previous generation. Later on we will go into detail of all the specific SKUs and we will give you the more detailed VRM information for those specific SKUs. But what you can expect on Intel boards is up to 12 power stages, specifically for the CPU, for the V-core, up to 60 amp smart power stages. So that is of course on the highest end model that we will talk about today. On AMD it's even up to 14 80 amp smart power station.
It's amazing, right? If you look back like 5 years ago, the VRMs got the biggest and also most costly part of the mainboard what we upgraded.
Yeah, and now the VRM on these kind of boards is sometimes higher end than certain godlikes in the past.
And it's indeed, it's really, in my opinion, ridiculous. It's overkill.
Depends on what you want to do with it and what you want to put on.
You have lower powers and it's nice, but just to run it and then play a little bit with it, no need.
No, for most standard users and gamers, it is definitely overkill.
Yeah.
But the cool thing, for example, about B850 is you can overclock with your CPU.
Absolutely.
You can throw a high-end Ryzen 9 on this and go completely bananas with overclocking.
Yeah, absolutely.
That you don't specifically need an extremely high-end X870E board.
But there's also a lot of people are asking why did the mainboards become so expensive? Well, this is one of the reasons. And that's not only from MSI, that's from all vendors. Because that's like marked requirement.
Yeah, the baseline standard of VRMs is quite a bit higher.
Yeah, and that's also because Intel and AMD, they have a range of TDP from like 65 to what is it nowadays, 125?
Yeah.
Some. And this needs to work also, I mean, a lot of people expect this to run on the entry-level boards. So if Intel would split up, like Core i3 only runs on B chipset, or Ultra 3, whatever it's called, not Ultra 3. Anyway, you know, it's still i5, i3.
Yeah, but then if you want to run power limited, then it wouldn't properly work anymore.
I know, but still, you know, it's an ID. I will send an email to Intel.
It's a bad idea, but
come on, it will save a lot of cost for everybody.
The thing is that this is also why we make a broad range of motherboards, because
absolutely, everybody can pick that one.
Yeah, I see Magnum Skywolf says in Twitch chat, no such thing as overkill, but that I disagree with, because if you want to run, for example, a Ryzen 5 CPU, and if you only have motherboards with a very high-end VRM, your motherboard will always be more expensive than your CPU in that case, where your CPU doesn't need a VRM like that. In that case, I would say it is overkill. It all depends, of course, what you want to do with it, what you want to run on it. But if you want to run, like for example, this new Ryzen 5 9600 or 9600X or even the 9700X, those are all 65 watt TDP rated parts. They don't need an extreme VRM. So do you then, especially if you don't want to overclock with it, do you then need one of the higher end models with that high-end VRM? You can save some money there by going, for example, for a pro model with a bit more affordable VRM, and for example, invest
I would say we just make a board which cannot do higher than 65 watt or 30 watt, whatever, you know. Special edition.
Especially, it will
cheap
be more
but
affordable.
works.
Yeah, but it all depends on what you want to do with it, if it is the right choice for you. So always carefully look at what do I want to do with it, what CPU am I going to run on it, and match your motherboard to that. Yeah. Of course, if you want to keep the option open to upgrade later to a high-end SKU, then go for a beefier one. If that's not something you're planning on, then you may better invest that, for example, in a better graphics card. It's always a trade-off. But yeah, you can go very high in terms of VRM. Of course, these kind of VRMs will not be on all motherboards, but later on we'll go through the different models. Some have a more modest VRM, some have a very high-end VRM. What all models do have is a server-grade PCB with up to 2 ounce thickened copper.
Somebody already calculated this how many kilograms it is in the chat.
That is very detailed, actually. Huh?
Yeah.
Then let's go to performance presets. So of course you can do a lot of manual overclocking, power limiting, all those kind of things. There are also some automatic features in there. So for Intel boards you get different power profiles you can pick from. So the Intel default setting, Intel extreme setting, MSI extreme setting, and MSI unlimited setting. These are just presets. You can still set this manually if you want to exactly what you want to do with it. For AMD you will find PBO auto, which is basically disabled, and PBO enabled, where it will automatically
PBO on and off.
Yeah, basically that is what it is. PBO is precision boost overdrive. So that's basically auto overclock.
Of a B840 has PBO. I don't think it has.
I don't think it has
CPU.
because it doesn't support overclocking, and this is an overclock feature.
Yeah.
I haven't tested B840 myself, so I cannot tell you 100%, but I don't think.
Wouldn't make a lot of sense.
No.
We will talk about clock speeds in a bit. Well, for memory.
Correct. Here you find some of the easy OC tuning features. So first of all, these are the AMD features that you will find. So performance switch basically prevents the CPU from clocking back very far through PBO. So it basically remains at a higher frequency. PBO thermal point, I think this is actually a very underrated feature and one of the most interesting feature for a lot of people, because you can manually underclock, undervolt your CPU and make your CPU quite a bit more efficient if you want to do some fiddling around with this. But the PBO thermal point is a very easy way to barely lose any performance, but lose quite a lot of power consumption.
Yeah.
So by default, it will go all the way to what the CPU allows. This differs per CPU. So also with 7000 series X3D CPUs, there can be differences there. But you can also set this thermal point to, for example, 65 watt or 65 degrees Celsius, 75, 85. And you usually barely lose any performance.
At one moment you will lose performance, but indeed you can go quite low, like save up to 30% of power.
Yeah, and sometimes
maybe
lose less than 5%
absolutely.
performance. So especially if you want to, for example, run it in a smaller system and you're worried about thermals, this is a very nice way to do this. Of course, it also matters what kind of cooling you have, because the 65 degrees Celsius with a bigger cooler, you will get better performance than 65 degrees Celsius with a boxed cooler, for example. Another one is the config TDP. So there you have several presets of those power limits that we talked about earlier. These are predefined settings, but again, you can also set this manually if you want to. Then on Intel, on certain boards, so to be exact, the Tomahawk and the Mortar board have OC engines. So those boards come with an external clock generator on these motherboards, and where technically B-series are not able to overclock the CPU, this allows you to adjust the base clock of the CPU. So the frequency of your CPU is
within a certain range.
Yeah, within a certain range. And of course, it can also make your system unstable if you go too far with
it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But basically the frequency of your CPU is the base clock times the multiplier, but on a non-case-Q CPU and on B-series chipset on Intel, the multiplier will be locked. So the only way to increase your CPU frequency will be through the base clock. That is what you can do with the external clock generator.
Because normally it takes an internal clock gen, which is locked.
Another thing you can do with it is, for example, overclock the SoC frequency, and that will give you better memory latency.
So this is the memory controller, for example.
Yeah, that one is, for example, indeed
integrated in the core part, not the CPU.
Indeed,
but
indeed.
all the other things.
And by increasing the frequency of the SoC, you can reduce memory latency with up to 7%. This is based on a 20 megahertz higher SoC frequency compared to stock.
And if we put this here, don't expect 40 megahertz higher.
No.
And this also differs per CPU.
Yeah, this of
Silicon
course,
lottery, of course.
Yeah, because like with the core part of the CPU, also the SoC part, no single CPU is the same.
No.
So where maybe on some you can reach, for example, 25 megahertz, but on another one maybe only 10 or 15. But yeah, you have to get lucky there.
This is only on AMD. Oh, sorry, this is only on Intel, because Intel normally doesn't allow to overclock the CPU.
Yeah.
So AMD doesn't need it. Hey, AI boost!
AI boost.
Whoa, cool!
You can also basically overclock the MPU to get higher AI performance as well. So that's in different stages. And this is also something that is specifically available on boards that have the MSI OC engine, so that have that external clock generator. So in the current lineup, that is Mortar and that is Tomahawk. So on the other models, you will not have this feature.
And you can say, well, why do you want to overclock it? But for example, if you're running one of these main boards without GPU and you're using the internal MPU to do AI, whatever AI applications, you see, I cannot read it, Mike, it's like 22% or something, the benchmark? Yeah. So you can have a boost of 20%. Nice, for free, why not?
Yeah.
No, we're not going to do that, Skeets. Skeets is saying we need to
Oh,
pay each time we pay. We say AI.
We did that before.
Yeah, yeah.
Then let's head over to, because now we talked about Intel, but we also have some nice AMD features that increase performance. One of them that can increase performance, but will not always, is the X3D gaming mode. As the name already implies, this is specifically meant for gaming. And what it will do is, for example, disable SMT. SMT is simultaneous multi-threading. Basically, what you know from Intel, it's called hyper-threading, basically the same thing. So for each core, you will get 2 threads. If you disable this, in certain games, you get slightly better gaming performance. However, you will lose on multi-threaded performance because every core, when this is disabled, will only have a single thread. So it will become worse at multitasking, multi-threading performance.
Yeah, so the results really depend on the game you're playing, because the game should have no multi-threading needs, or little multi-threaded needs, and it should not be as optimized, because if it's optimized, this will not help, then the operating system will already schedule it to the right cores, etc.
Yeah, what's also interesting is that, for example, when you do this on a dual CCD CPU, it will also disable one of the CCDs.
Yeah.
But again, this may be good for gaming performance, but will hurt your multi-threading performance. So it depends. If you only use your PC for gaming, this is something you can consider. If you also do productivity work, then this is not something.
Is that a typo? 2 to 20% faster?
No, it is correct, but
okay.
it differs very much per game.
Yeah.
So, for example, the 20% here, you can see in the bottom benchmarks is Far Cry 6.
Yeah.
That one benefits a lot from this feature, but there are also games. For example, here you see Assassin's Creed Mirage, 0%. So there it doesn't make
Then it should say 0 to 20%.
It should have actually said.
Yeah, that's why, like we normally say up to 20%.
Yeah, that would have been a better name. Because there are games that will benefit, there are games that don't benefit, and for sure your multi-threaded performance will suffer. So only do this if you really want to use it for gaming.
Okay, yeah. No questions anymore. I want to ask questions, but no questions.
Skeet says, no thanks, some games use both CCDs as well. Yeah, and also apart from games, sometimes you're running stuff on your PC in the background. So if you have a dual CCD CPU, in certain situations it can be beneficial if you run the game on one CCD and run your background applications in a second SSD. That's also why, for example, if you compare the 7800 X3D to the 7950 X3D, in certain situations 7950 X3D will outperform it because it can offload certain other applications to the other CCD.
Yeah, so this is really if you need to test the game and don't use this for everything.
It is a very situational thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is the I think the key message.
Yeah.
But just try it out and use it or don't use it based on what you want to do with your PC. Then there is PBO enhanced mode.
Are you doing sign languages? Yeah.
That's about how far I can get. How good is your sign language?
No.
No?
Nothing.
Non-existent?
No. No.
Or at least not suitable for children?
Vectom, are subtitles working? I hope.
The auto subtitles, yeah.
Yeah, from YouTube. YouTube. So, PBO enhanced mode.
Yep. So, basically, there's an improved version or enhanced version of the standard PBO with 3 different modes available. So, PBO enhanced 1, 2, and 3. This is something you can fiddle around with and see what gives you the best results. And this also differs per cooling solution how well it performs. Because PBO will basically automatically overclock your CPU, but that's also based on the temperature of your CPU. So if you have a bigger cooler, you can expect bigger gains than when you would have a little bit more modest cooler or even a boxed cooler. So usually if you want to benefit from PBO, make sure the cooling is as good as possible. Then let's head over to memory frequencies. This is AMD B850 memory frequency, and as you can see with the different generations, so Raphael is the 7000 series AMD CPUs, Phoenix is the 8000 series, so for example the APUs, like the 8700G, those kind of CPUs, and Granite Ridge is the latest 9000 series, the Zen 5 CPUs.
Yeah, so it's a little bit upside down, but each generation basically, the clock
7000,
frequencies
8000,
are
9000.
improving.
Exactly. So with the latest 9000 series, especially on the boards that have more PCB layers.
So you get a better isolated memory signal.
Yeah, and there you see better performance on your memory frequency. So on, for example, the HDI Wi-Fi and the Tomahawk Wi-Fi, which are, at least in our current lineup, the two most high-end B850 boards, you can reach memory frequencies of over 8400 megahertz. Of course, this is dependent on a lot of things. So it is dependent on your memory modules, it is dependent on your CPU, the memory controller in there, how well it performs. Yeah, again.
Only two? Only 2 points?
No,
I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that at least the ones that have most influence on this. Yeah, I think technically voltage even could be a thing.
Yeah, so it's not, I mean, it's not like I go to the MSI QVL and I buy this memory and it works on my CPU, because your memory controller needs to be good.
But also not only the type of memory, like memory also has like a silicon lottery. So even with the same modules, it can be, if you have one memory kit, it is even possible that one memory module performs better than the other.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is always a certain bottleneck.
Technically possible, but you know, don't aim for this at home. I mean, you can achieve it, but you need to be lucky and then have the right memory.
Yeah, and this is also not something you would want to use 24/7 in your setup. Also because of the Infinity Fabric that AMD uses. So you basically want to have your Infinity Fabric in sync with your memory frequency. So ideally,
Intel has a nice solution for this.
Yeah, that's true with the gear modes. But for AMD, I would say ideally aim for like 6000, maybe 6200 with the lowest latency possible. So for example, if you can run CL28 or something with DDR5 6000, that is a very nice combination with the 9000 series. And will benefit you more than this higher frequency with the risk of instability as well. Then 4DIMM, so this is something we already touched on earlier with this new AGISA code. There are some more possibilities with 4 memory modules. With 4DIMMs, you always suffer compared to 2DIMMs. So in case you don't want extreme memory capacities, so let's say you want to run 64 gigabytes of memory, go for 2 times 32 rather than 4 times 16 gigabytes.
Price will not differ that much, but performance will.
Performance indeed, especially the frequencies and also getting higher frequencies and lower latencies in a stable manner is much easier on a 2DIMM board. Especially because all these boards also use a daisy-chained memory topology. So in the past, more often we also had T topology. This is a little bit of a technical story, but basically T topology means that every DIMM slot on the motherboard will perform approximately equal, but none of them will be fantastic. Whereas if you daisy-chain them, that basically means 2 slots are daisy-chained behind the other slots. That also means that the distance of 2 of those slots, the tracing distance, will be shorter. So those 2 slots will perform better and will allow you to get higher frequencies in a 2DIMM setup. I already see a comment in chat, Unify Goat. Well, that's a 2DIMM board, so that's for memory. That is even the ideal situation. That will give you the highest frequencies, the clearest memory signal. But also on 4DIMM boards, if you use 2DIMM setup, it will give you higher possibilities in terms of memory frequency. So that's something to keep in mind. If, however, you use certain applications that require a lot of memory, so let's say you want to use certain rendering programs that can use a lot of memory. Our video editor is always complaining that he needs more memory. He uses a lot of Adobe After Effects, for example, and that will just use all the memory that it can. So basically you want to have as much memory as possible.
He was complaining this week again, I'm running out of memory.
But for those kind of applications, the frequency is way less important, but the memory size is much more important. So then you may want to use 4DIMMs. And now with this newer BIOS version as well, with this new AGISA code, the 1.2.0.2b, you will see a lot better performance with 4 DIMMs on these boards as well.
Yeah, I think there are now quite good developments, both Intel and AMD. They make good progress on 4DIMM compatibility, let's say like that. But it will never be as 2 DIMMs. No. I mean, that's a technical thing.
You can already see the difference here between. It is a big gap if you use 2 DIMM or 4 DIMM. Yeah. And again, this is also dependent on the quality of your memory controller and the CPU, of the memory modules you use.
And instead of 2 DIMMs, where you have to have the silicon lottery, now it's 4 DIMMs.
4 DIMMs where you have to win the silicon lottery. Yeah. That's correct. It also differs how
Hey, your
big
coffee is getting cold.
Coffee?
Yeah.
It's my hot chocolate or cold chocolate now.
It's now cold?
It's a little bit.
Okay.
It's still doable.
Yeah, thanks for the warning.
Still doable. It also differs how big your memory modules are. So with bigger memory configurations, you also usually put more strain on the memory controller in your CPU, so it will become more difficult to reach those higher memory frequencies. Let's go through some of the frequencies that have been tested within our headquarters. So here, for example, this is our MPG B850 HTI Wi-Fi, so that's the highest amp model in the B850 lineup. And they were able to clock the memory at 8400 mega transfers per second and run memtest in this configuration. This one is by the way, using Hynix chips. Then let's head over to same board, but this is a 4 DIMM configuration with large memory modules. So 192 gigabyte of memory. So that's 4 DIMMs of 48 gigabytes of memory running at 6400 mega transfers per second. Also stably in memtest. Again, this is dependent on quality of the CPU, quality of the memory modules. So it doesn't mean that because we were able to run it here, that every single memory kit can do this, every single CPU can do this. Absolutely not. But at least it is interesting to see that these frequencies are really increasing on 4 DIMM. This is B850 Gaming Plus Wi-Fi, much more affordable model, but also able to run 4 times 48 gigabytes at 6200 mega transfers per second with a cache latency of 32. And this is even on B840, so not B850, this is a Pro B840-P Wi-Fi, also running 4 modules, 48 gigs each, so 192 gigabytes in total, at 6000 mega transfers per second. So I think quite impressive to see the steps that we're making in 4 DIMM configurations. So I think that may also make 4 DIMM configurations more viable for people.
I think this is now also an important topic because of AI. Oh, I said it again. But you know, but it also needs large memory capacity. So it's a hot topic.
Yeah, but depending on what kind of
AI. That's why now also AMD and Intel and then MSI, we're putting effort to this.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
You already touched on what Intel does with the different gears, and that also allows them to reach very high memory frequencies. Here you see an overview of the different B860 boards and the frequencies they can achieve. So for B860i HDI Wi-Fi, 9200 megatransfers per second, actually the same for Tomahawk and Mortar. Maybe the Mini ITX could go even higher, I would say, especially because it's a Mini ITX, so that's always a 2 DIMM board, and those always have a benefit in terms of getting a clear memory signal. But it can definitely achieve 9200 megatransfers per second. And for the Pro series motherboards, it's 8600 megatransfers per second.
Which is still higher than AMD.
Yeah.
Which was 8400 for the high-end ones, like Tomahawk and Edge.
But again, frequency doesn't always translate into performance.
No, so it's about memory efficiency. Yeah, it's about cache latency you're running.
Latency as well, indeed. So don't just look at the numbers of DDR5.
Nice for marketing, but it's not no benchmark.
No. Here you see 9200 megatransfers per second in the gear to ratio on the Mortar board, B860M Mortar. Also running memtest. And also in 4 DIMMs, so this is 4 times 24 gigabytes, so 96 gigabytes in total of DDR5, 8000 mega transfers per second in Gear 2. This is, by the way, on Z890. That is something to keep in mind, but
Mike,
still impressive to see.
We have an old guy, Jericho 78, so probably he's almost 50. He's asking.
Is he that old? Just imagine being 50. Whew.
Don't tell them. Anyway, he's asking about the audio outputs. He's right. Oh.
What is the question about the audio outputs?
In the middle. So I see tendency to remove the audio outputs for 5.1 and 7.1 speaker. How can I use a speaker with the normal 2.5 millimeter plugs?
3.5, I think that should be.
Yeah.
It depends a bit per board, what kind of configuration there is. So let's see, this one has an optical. Is it the same for this one? Okay. Maybe let's go to the close-up.
Close-up, where is the close-up? Details.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, waiting screen. Did you break it?
No? Did you make it?
Shall I fix it for
Yeah.
you? You tested this, right?
I did. But you copied some layers.
Hang on. I didn't copy the layer.
No, I didn't touch anything.
Let's fix this.
Yeah.
Does it work?
A PPT? Yeah.
Yay.
Now it works.
Okay.
So, which one you
This
want?
was the board I wanted to show. So this is one of the more affordable models, and there you will see 3 analog audio ports. So technically, you would use this as your line out, your headphone out, and your microphone in. You can also configure this in your drivers to make them all outputs. Every analog can carry 2 channels,
In the
stereo
Realtek
basically.
software,
Yeah, in the Realtek software
Yeah.
you can do this.
most
So-
of the times it's also auto detect.
Yeah,
it used to be.
I think you need
Auto
to
switching.
switch this.
Okay. But you
So-
can manually and yeah.
But through this, you can plug in a 5.1
Yeah.
set, because through each of those analog connectors, you can get 2 signals,
Yeah.
and for 5.1,
But
in
your
total
plug
you need
needs
6.
needs to allow this because you
Yeah.
need to have enough ribbons. Or how do you call that?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
So it needs to be supported from your
Yeah.
set
And
as
do we have another example?
well.
So
Yeah,
actually,
maybe
yeah.
just grab the other one.
Normally, this is the other configuration where you have 2
Yeah, so
with SPDIF.
yeah, and then usually SPDIF would be where you connect your surround set, and the other are meant for headphones and microphone. But yeah, this is indeed different than with the previous configuration. Has to do with the fact that it takes space to have more analog outputs on the motherboard, and now you see that the preference of people is moving a bit. So
Toslink, yeah.
yeah, Toslink is indeed the SPDIF output, the optical one.
Soon we will go to the main boards and all the connectors.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
But yeah, people tend to want more USB nowadays. So
We
to
need
do
to
that,
make
we need
space
to
for
make
that.
space indeed. So that's why we're kind of scaling down on the number of audio ports. Another thing, of course, is that more and more people are using USB audio devices
Yeah.
nowadays.
USB headsets or USB audio decks.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But also even speaker sets. I see
Yeah.
more and more with
I
USB.
still have an old creative speaker set which can be used by the analog plugs, but I'm using SPDIF.
Yeah, I have a 2.0 set, but I also use SPDIF for.
99% of the time I have a headphone on.
Really?
Yeah, really.
For me, only when I actually want to speak with someone.
I always want to talk to somebody.
But otherwise, when I'm listening to music, I switch to speakers.
Oh, no.
Always.
My wife will complain.
Yeah, that's the whole purpose, right?
How to annoy people.
But yeah, that's indeed why you see a shift in audio configuration on this.
Yeah. New speakers or new sound card then? Yeah, can help, but I think there
Another
are
option,
workarounds.
if you, for example, still want to connect like 7.1 surround set in an analog manner, you can of course still use an external audio card. You can connect it through USB, or
Yeah.
you can even use PCI Express versions.
Yeah.
Uh,
But you notice, right, indeed, slowly, step by step, this is, I don't want to say phasing out, but it's changing indeed from the normal 6 or 5 connectors to only 2. Yeah. And it's not
Skeet
only...
says sound cards are dead. Yeah, it is definitely increasingly difficult
I
to
think what's
purchase separate
the-
sound cards. You still have the very
Beach. What is the Beach? Hupplepup Beach, some vendor, they still have audio
Turtle
cards.
Beach.
Turtle Beach.
Do they have audio cards as well?
You used to have. And maybe probably Creative. A good old Sound Blaster.
I used to use the Creative X5 sound cards in the past, but they don't make those anymore.
I used to have the Gravis Ultrasound.
Oh damn!
How old are you? Hey.
I'm not that grey yet.
That was the best card at that moment.
But yeah, there are still some options, but not that many anymore. That's definitely true. I know for especially, but that's mostly for headphone users. There are some very, very expensive high-end USB sound cards. The decks where you connect your headphones to. I think some of them go over like $1,000.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They can
for
be
audio files,
extremely
yeah.
expensive. But that's like the very high-end stuff that you would combine with the very
Mike,
high-end headphones.
We will continue because otherwise you have too many slides.
Good point.
And too many boards. Well, not too many, but we have a few boards we want to show.
Yeah, we have a few boards we want to show. Let's head over to Memory Triad. So this basically Triad feature where your motherboard has certain presets that you can try based on the memory modules and also the memory chips that you are using. So the board can detect, hey, this is a certain type of memory chip that usually goes very well in terms of frequency and in terms of latency. That is what you can try out with this to get a better performance. So there are over 50 overclocking profiles currently in this based on those different memory chips. This is something you can fiddle around with to see if you can get some additional performance.
It will take some time to fine tune, but you can really get the maximum out of what you have.
Yeah, but again, try this, test it for stabilities, because it can be no memory module is the same, so it can be that a certain preset doesn't work on your specific memory module. Yeah.
Your chocolate milk.
Oh.
Your cold chocolate milk.
Oh. Now it's cold chocolate milk.
Yeah.
It loses flavor, does it?
Next slide, I can talk.
Okay.
Oh no, this is your
Go
slide.
for it.
Anyway, more memory triad. We have another slide. Thank you. Next slide. Oh, you have a story with this?
Yeah, because also optimized now for 4 DIMM configuration.
Yeah.
So where this is the standard memory triad was based on 2 DIMM configurations. Yeah. Now also, if you want to use 4
which
DIMM.
means, like what I already told you, more effort also from our side to come up with better compatibility for 4 DIMMs.
Then let's go to memory extension mode. This is always a bit confusing because you have high efficiency mode and memory extension mode. Basically, they're the same thing. High efficiency mode AMD, memory extension mode Intel. Memory extension mode and high efficiency mode basically have optimized subtimings, so you don't always see those on the surface. So a lot of people will be familiar with, for example, cache latency, but there are way more timings, and not only
with difficult names.
Yeah. So sometimes you see like the 32, 32, 32, 96. That's only 4 of them, but there are way more. By optimizing this, in certain situations you can get actually quite a lot of extra performance. Certain games highly benefit from this. So there are certain presets in our BIOS. So for example, for memory extension mode, you have performance mode, benchmark mode, and a mem test mode. On high efficiency mode, it's called, I think, balanced, tightest, those kind of presets. Yeah. So fiddle around with this, see what gives you the best results. But again, this can make your system unstable. But usually
it will make your system unstable if you go too far.
If you go too far, yeah.
Just testing.
But yeah, for example, I also run this. I run an AMD system myself, so I use high efficiency mode. I have mine on balanced, and in certain games I do see quite a bit of an FPS boost, and it runs perfectly stable in my case. So yeah, just try it. Minesweeper, yeah, that one is insane. 10,000 FPS. Now I need a monitor to match with it. Here you see some of the results that you can get with memory extension mode enabled.
But think about it, you get 21% better performance.
Can get. So again, this differs very much per game.
But so I mean, that's a lot of value if you need to buy a higher CPU which runs 20% faster. That's like a generation.
If it runs fine, it's free performance.
Yeah.
So definitely try it out and see if it works for you or not. And as you can see, big difference between games. So like in the example here, Black Myth Wukong and Call of Duty, they barely benefit from it. But some other games, like for example Cyberpunk, but also Shadow of the Tomb Raider, they see very big performance increases when running this feature. As mentioned before, high efficiency mode, basically the AMD equivalent of this, does the same kind of thing, optimized as memory subtimings for.
These are the AMD names, and we're trying to push to sync them, because then it's much more.
It can be a bit confusing with memory extension mode, high efficiency mode.
But yeah, Intel AMD, they have their own thing.
Yeah, you can actually combine this with memory triad as well, for an even bigger performance increase. So if you can optimize it through memory triad and then still enable high efficiency mode, then in certain games this can give you a lot better performance. When we talked about the new AGISA 1.2.0.2b, we also talked about a new feature that we introduced in this BIOS update. It's latency killer. I don't know all the technical details behind this, but some of our engineers have been fiddling around a lot with this, and they came up with the latency killer feature, and somehow they did their magic and managed to reduce the memory latency by up to 12%. So again, something, try it out and see if it gives you better performance in a stable manner as well. Then let's go over to the Frozr design, the cooling on our motherboards. But maybe we can do another giveaway first.
Yeah, sure.
If you haven't participated yet, go to msi.com/2/insider or follow the direct link to Gleam that our bot puts in the chat once every 6 minutes, you said, on YouTube and Twitch. In Gleam you can perform certain actions. The more actions you perform, the bigger chance you'll have to win. And if you're a returning visitor, make sure to claim your loyalty bonus.
And the next winner
of his Team Wallet code
is Renjax? How would you pronounce that? Why do you guys all just call yourself Tom or something easy?
This is a Renjax? Renjax?
Yeah. Anyway,
RENGYX. Congratulations, you also won a Steam Wallet code. So please keep an eye on your mailbox. We'll email the code to you in the coming days with some instructions on how to redeem it. Okay, let's head over to cooling, because we have a lot of cooling features on these boards, but also not just these boards, but in combination with other components as well. Frozr Guard is basically a combined name of all the different cooling features on these boards. More about this later. Frozr Sync is how you can synchronize your motherboard with, for example, your all-in-one liquid cooler, and you can control this through MSI Center with Frozr Control as well. So that's a software integration. But now we'll first explain a bit more about what Frozr Guard looks like on these motherboards. So here you see some of the cooling features as part of Frozr Guard. Extended heatsink.
I can show some boards. Yep. It's quite strange. Oh no, maybe not.
No?
No.
Oh, it works? Okay.
Yeah. Frozr Guard.
Yes.
Yeah. No. I think this is the best way to show.
This is the extended heatsink. So basically that way, here you see that the heatsink on the VRM stretches all the way over the I/O. Yeah. And basically, by making it so large, it has a bigger surface area, so you get better heat dissipation compared to a smaller heatsink. Then we also have enlarged chipset heatsinks. You can especially see that on Tomahawk, for example, here.
Yeah, as well. I need to do my best not to scratch the surface.
Yeah, so very big heatsink on there as well, and directly connected to it, you also see the M.2 Shield Frozr, and that will cool the SSDs. So there are multiple on this one, so that will cool the SSDs and prevent them from thermal throttling if you put them under load for extended periods of time. Then Frozr Sync, maybe you can also show this, because we have some special fan headers as well. Yeah, on top of the...
Yeah, but it's over here.
Yeah, so you see certain black headers, and you see...
What is this SSD doing
a
here?
white or grayish. Later on you can use that one.
You prepared, actually?
I did.
Okay.
You should try it too. The different fan headers, are also different in capability. So for example, system fan headers, they are able to transmit 1 amp of power. CPU fan header can do 2 amp of power. And then there is the combo fan header, which can do up to 3 amps of power. This is especially important when you want to run multiple things off of a single header. So you can use splitter cables and actually connect a whole bunch of fans to that single header if you use the more powerful one.
So going forward on the slides, in blue it's Intel, and in orange it's AMD.
Yeah. There you see indeed the overview of the different boards and how many fan headers they have, what kind of fan headers. So basically all boards have a single CPU fan header, all have that combo fan header, and then the system fan headers is where you usually see the difference. So some have more than others. Higher end boards usually have more fan headers as well. Then through Frozr control, you can control the cooling features and control the different fans as well connected to these headers. There are actually 2 ways to do this. You can do it through the BIOS, through a hardware monitor. There you can, for example, set custom fan curves, all those kind of things, RPM limits. But you can also use MSI Center. We have Cooling Wizard and Frozr AI Cooling integrated in there. We also have some preset profiles, so you can go for either balanced or powerful mode or silent mode, those kind of things. So that's maybe especially if you're not a very experienced user, that is a very easy way to also optimize your fan speeds. Then let's head over to connectivity, because there is actually quite a lot on these boards despite the segment.
Which board?
Let's start with an Intel. The other one on your left.
But nowadays
That one
it's
is an
very
Intel.
difficult to see for me which one is Intel or AMD. I know
Because both use an LGA socket.
Yeah,
nowadays,
yeah.
You can see it in the shape, because the AMD
Intel,
socket is more square,
I'm always like Intel is the lever is down.
facing downwards. Yeah.
So this is an Intel board.
But also the socket is rectangular, where for AMD it's more square. Because of course AMD CPUs are square, Intel rectangular. So here you see the B860 Tomahawk, and we actually have tri-link connectivity on these boards. That basically means networking, storage, and expansion. So in terms of networking, I'm making some space.
Yeah.
In terms of networking, you will find 5 gigabit LAN. So that's the wired LAN, over there. And then you have Wi-Fi 7, the full featured version, so 320 megahertz. Then you have PCI Express 5.0 M.2.
That's normally the top slot.
Yeah, correct. And PCI Express 5.0 on the PCI Express slot as well. And then there is also Thunderbolt 4, and that you will find back on the I/O again.
That's this one.
Yeah, because this one has 2 USB Type-C ports, and the Thunderbolt one is highlighted with the Lightning logo.
Yeah, normally the difference between Z890 and this one is that the Z890 have 2 Thunderbolt 4 slots.
Also differs per model.
Of course, with most higher
most.
ends like MPG and MEG for sure.
I think MAG as well,
Yeah.
but with some more affordable Pro
have
boards.
only one indeed.
It also depends per model. Some also have 2.
But in this segment, from the high-end ones, how many does this have? Oh, this is AMD. Okay, never mind. Never mind. Okay, Thunderbolt and USB 4.
Yeah. So that's the tri-link connectivity that you will find on these boards. There you see an overview. So 5 gigabit LAN is present on most of these boards, and that is a difference compared to the previous generation, because 2.5 gigabit was basically the standard for how many years now? I think 4, something like that. But now almost all of these boards, apart from B840, have 5 gigabit LAN. For the higher end Intel boards, so that will be Tomahawk and Mortar, you will find Intel Killer 5 gigabit LAN. On the Pro boards, you will find Realtek 5 gigabit LAN. On the AMD B850 boards, you will also find Realtek 5 gigabit LAN, and then the B840 have a Realtek 2.5 gigabit LAN. Of course, it is nice to have it on a motherboard in terms of future-proofing as well, but in order to utilize this, you also need networking equipment at home that can support.
Ian, later we talk about that 8-pin connector.
Then let's head over to wireless connectivity, Wi-Fi 7. So Wi-Fi 7 compared to the previous generations, Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 6E, Wi-Fi 5, higher frequencies. So you can get better data bandwidth. In terms of frequencies, it supports 2.4 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz, 6 gigahertz. That maybe looks the same as Wi-Fi 6E because that one also supported 6 gigahertz. But the cool thing about Wi-Fi 7 is that you can combine them. So basically you can stack the speed of the different frequencies to get even higher bandwidths. Channel size up to 320 megahertz. But again, this is something that both devices need to support. So you also need a router that can support this.
Well, I see the Wi-Fi mesh kits are coming down like hell pricing.
Yeah.
Of course, Wi-Fi 7 is still very expensive, but the Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 6E, that's where the prices are coming down. And yeah, I mean, the nice thing about Wi-Fi is really backwards compatible, so it works all sides. You just have the weakest link is your speed.
Yeah, definitely true. Also keep in mind that if you get, for example, a certain router or mesh kit that can support 320 megahertz, make sure that your motherboard can also do it. Because not all motherboards in the market can do it. Currently, all our boards that have Wi-Fi 7, we only use the 320 megahertz solution. But elsewhere in the market, you will also find 160 megahertz, which is still called Wi-Fi 7. Because
it should be Wi-Fi 7 Lite or...
Yeah. Well, yeah, basically it still falls under the Wi-Fi 7 naming because in terms of features...
It's more like Wi-Fi 6E.
No, because it can, for example, support the Wi-Fi 7 features like the stacking,
Yeah.
but it cannot support the very high bandwidth that 320 megahertz can support. So this is something to keep in mind that especially if you are buying a router that can do the 320, then it is worth it to also invest in devices that support this. So in this case, motherboard, but can also be notebook or whatever.
Tom wants me to use some tape to shut you up.
Sorry, Tom.
Well, you should be happy Peter is not here.
Oh, that would have been very late.
Yeah.
Another cool feature on the boards that have Intel LAN. So
Intel LAN and Intel Wi-Fi.
Intel LAN and Intel Wi-Fi. So Intel Wi-Fi you will find on more boards, but for example the AMD series.
It should have killer LAN and killer Wi-Fi, and that's what we have on most of these Wi-Fi 7 boards.
Depends. Like the Pro series, they have Realtek 5 gigabit
No, but
LAN.
if you have, you can have killer without. Sorry, you can have Intel
without
LAN
killer. Yeah.
Without killer.
That's
we
true.
have
That's
with
true.
killer.
We have with killer on the MAG series on B860.
Yeah.
And there is also Intel Killer Wi-Fi 7 on there, and you can combine those into Intel Killer Double Shot Pro. So there is also a separate piece of software for this. And the cool thing about this kind of software is that you can also assign certain applications to certain controllers. So maybe you want to play a video game, you want to have the best latency, you're going to run it on your wired network, but in the meanwhile, maybe you're downloading something where latency doesn't make it's not really a big issue.
It's quite simple. If you're behind your PC, prioritize your PC and then get rid of all the bandwidth for the rest of the house.
But that's prioritizing on your router side.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But this is within your system itself.
Indeed.
So for example, you can also run Spotify on your Wi-Fi and run the game on your
You can select
Ethernet.
where you want to have the...
Yeah, indeed. You can also combine it for higher bandwidth in total. So there are a lot of options here. And this is specifically available on the MAG B860 model, so Mortar and Tomahawk. Here's an overview of the boards that have Thunderbolt 4 as well. So these are all the Intel B860 boards. So Thunderbolt 4 is not available on the AMD B850 and AMD B840. On B860, it differs. I don't want to say it will be on all motherboards, but at this point, the models that you see here all have a single Thunderbolt 4 port.
So
if you need multiple, then there is also the Z series where you will sometimes find two.
So Thunderbolt 4, also USB 4, Type-C port, and it will deliver by default 15 watt power delivery.
Yeah. It can also carry a DisplayPort signal, but in order to use that, you do need a CPU with integrated graphics. So if you have an FSQ CPU, then it won't work.
No.
That's something to keep in mind. PCI Express 5.0 storage on a lot of boards in this.
Yeah, so we also already had some people asking how many slots are on there, M.2, 2 or 3? Well,
a lot.
Well, I have the Tomahawk over here.
On some boards you will find 4 even.
Maybe we do it like this, Mike. Not sure. Make some space. Make some space. Make some space.
Yeah, it differs very much per board what they can do. So you're going to show the B860 Tomahawk
Not
now?
sure if this works.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
So
right.
this is B860 Tomahawk. This one, for example, has one PCI Express Gen 5 slot. That is this one.
I have an SD over here. Wait, one hand? Yeah, works. Hey, it doesn't, yeah.
And on the bottom
do we have a
there's two more.
screwdriver? We don't have screwdriver, right?
No, not nearby.
Anyway, these you can fit too.
Yeah, and those are Gen 4 times 4 on this specific
Yeah.
board. But this differs per model. So, for example, if we take, this is the Pro B850-P Wi-Fi.
Maybe we make me running here. My chair is not helping.
Because this is also offers 3 M.2 slots. Again, this is a Gen 5 slot. Then you have 2 more slots, and those are both Gen 4, but one of them has 4 lanes available and the other has 2 lanes available. I think it's the other way around.
Yeah, I know.
But
I know.
always check the manual.
I was not trying to sync with you.
Okay.
Okay. So this one has 4 lanes available. This one has
Yeah,
2
double check
lanes
this in the manual,
available.
but I think it is indeed
Yeah.
that is the
And this is the Gen
configuration.
5 slot.
Yeah. Of course, on these lower end chipsets, you get limited in lanes earlier. That's why in certain situations, they only have 2 lanes available. So if you want to run a very fast SSD with very high bandwidth, make sure to use the correct slots. But at least you can still find 3 M.2 slots on this board. Maybe let's go to our Edge. That's that model.
Okay.
Because this one has even more capabilities. It has 4 slots in total, and it has 2 PCI Express Gen 5 slots and 2 PCI Express Gen 4 slots.
So this is Gen 5.
Yeah, and I think it's the second one as well.
This is Gen 5.
And then, but double check that in the manual, but I think it's the second one. Then the third and the fourth are PCI Express Gen 4, but both of them also offer 4 lanes per slot.
Yeah. What
So-
about the PCI Express slots? This is Gen 5 by 16, Gen 4, Gen 4, and this one is by 2, and this one is by 4. You can actually see it.
But keep in mind that
Can you see it?
it's difficult to see.
I can
like
see
this.
it. I can see it, but it's like this.
But keep in mind that sometimes these lanes can be shared. So if you occupy all your M.2 slots, it is possible that one of your PCI Express slots will be disabled. So that's something you have to keep in mind, because there is a limited number of PCI Express lanes available and they are switchable. But if you completely fill it up, then things may not work. So also check the manual exactly to see what is available in which configuration.
I'm not on Wi-Fi, that's why it's like.
Then PCI Express 5.0, you will basically find on all B860, B850 models, they have SMT soldering process. So maybe you can show the back of the motherboard.
Yeah. We go back. Now I'm on Wi-Fi, so it should be a bit
Yeah.
smoother.
So you don't see any pins behind the
Oh,
PCI
one moment,
Express
sorry,
slot
guys.
anymore. I think you're making people nauseous with all the turning and spin. Yeah, this is behind the DDR5 as well, also SMT soldering, but also behind the PCI Express 5.0 slots. Maybe let's have a look at this model, because here you can see that this is SMT soldered. This is the PCI Express 5.0 slot, and whereas here with the 4.0 you will see the regular soldering. So that's specifically something for the 5.0 slot that has the SMT soldering. SMT soldering allows for better signal quality, so that's also why this is particularly suitable for PCI Express Gen 5 and DDR5. These boards also come with the additional 8-pin PCI Express power connector on the bottom of those boards, and this can deliver up to 2.5 power excursion compared to not having this.
We don't have a GPU, right?
No.
Okay.
So you don't have to connect this. It will still work if you don't connect it, but if you connect it, the board can withstand higher power excursions, and that is specifically when you're running a lot of devices on your motherboard simultaneously. If you only run a single SSD and a single graphics card, then of course it won't be an issue for you anyway. But on the bottom you will find that connector as well.
Yeah, the connector.
Yeah.
I'm there,
yeah?
sorry.
Yeah, there you will find it. And that is a gray connector, and this is a 6+2 pin PCIe power connector. So don't confuse this with the 8-pin EPS that you will find on top of the motherboard for the CPU. So those are different connectors. These are EPS connectors, and this is a PCIe 6+2 pin connector. This also makes it compatible with both ATX 3.1 and PCI Express 5.1 standards.
Do you have to be here to qualify for the giveaway? Yes.
Yes.
You need to be Captain
Yes.
Sticky Beard. No, it's not Captain, it's just Captain Sticky
I'm at work
Beard.
and will be in and out. Just skip
tell
work.
your boss some excuse.
You have something more important to do
Yeah.
than work.
Yeah. But you don't have to be here.
Then let's head over to Easy DIY, and that's a lot of features on these boards. So this is also a difference compared to the previous generation, where we already had some of the features, but much more now also on more affordable motherboards, because the Easy DIY features in the past generations were mostly on the high-end boards, and now you see it trickling down to
like this.
to a lot more models as well.
Which one is more high-end? This is the Dash P and this is the...
Yeah, this is the correct order in terms of
Yeah.
lowest end to highest end.
Okay.
So here you see, where shall we start?
I don't know. You tell me.
Maybe let's go with the Easy M.2. So do you have the SSD for me? So this is the Easy M.2 Shield Frozzer 2. So you don't need any screws to take this off. You just press this here, you lift it up, you take it off. This is actually a dual-sided one. So here you have a thermal pad, and on the bottom as well. Always when you install your SSD, take the thermal pads off. Then in the slot, if you install your SSD, you also have the Easy M.2 clip 2. So with this, you just have to press it down and it clicks in. There is not the latch anymore like we had in the first generation, so maybe we can show that on this board. So that is the first generation Easy M.2 clip. And there you push it in, and then you push the clip over it to lock it in.
Yeah, my fat fingers are blocking everything. But yeah, you get the idea, you know?
And now with the second generation, it's just a small ball. And when you want to take it out, you move this aside. Here, because it's dual-sided, thermal pads are usually a bit sticky, so then you usually have to help it a little bit to get it out. And if you want to reinstall it, you just press this down and it will click into the mechanism. So that's how Easy M.2 Shield Frozzer
And
in combination
even
with the Easy
the,
M.2
I don't know which board this is. This is like a Pro board, but this even has the Easy.
Yeah. So you will find this on a lot more motherboards nowadays, especially the Easy M.2 Shield Frozzer 2s.
And it's actually quite simple. Just some gaps, holes.
For example,
cutouts.
on these Pro boards, they will also come with the Easy M.2 Clip 2 in the package, so you can still install it manually. You can also install them in here if you want to. These different screw holes are for the different lengths of SSDs. So the most common one is the 2280, so that's an 80mm SSD, 8 centimeters. But the other screw is for 110
No more
millimeters.
dropping screws. Exactly.
No more dropping screws. The M.2 screws were absolutely terrible because they're
very
so
small.
tiny. Yeah. You always lose them.
So what's next? Easy something.
Yeah, another one is the Easy GPU installation, and that is available on the somewhat higher end boards. You will have the Easy PCIe release button. So this is, for example, on Tomahawk, but also on Edge you will find this button. Basically, by pressing the button, you either lock or unlock the graphics card. And this feature is specifically on this motherboard because Eric killed too many with a screwdriver.
Everybody knows. Everybody knows.
So you don't have to stab your motherboard anymore to take your graphics card out of your system.
Yeah. And actually, this is also improved, right?
Yeah, so this is the Easy PCIe Clip 2. So in the past, these clips were smaller, basically this.
Do you really don't have a screwdriver? I mean, I can demonstrate how I took them out of the GPUs out of my system.
Yeah, if I would have older motherboards here, then you would be allowed to. No, you're not. So this is the
They
regular.
will become older.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. This is the regular release clip. This is
So
one you're probably familiar
basically,
with.
with the point, I was behind the GPU, I was pushing like here, and then sometimes
So you missed
this
and
happens.
Then, yeah, and then the choke was off.
Or a scratch.
or a small scratch.
Yeah.
Or a hole.
Yeah.
On this clip, there is like an additional piece where it's easier to reach it. So especially if you have your cooler in and your graphics card is installed, then it can be hard to reach this clip. By having this piece on it, it's much easier to reach this. So this is what you will find on the more affordable boards, and the higher end ones have the Easy PCIe release button. So that's that one.
What's next?
The Easy System Command, and those are the buttons that you will find on the I/O. So this is the Edge, for example. Here you will see two buttons. The one on the bottom is the Flash BIOS button. So in order to use this, you put a USB drive with the correct BIOS file and naming into the correct USB port. That is this one. It is highlighted on the PCB. It also says Flash BIOS on the bottom there. Yeah. So if you put a USB flash drive in this with the correct BIOS file, correct name, press the button and you can flash your BIOS. You only need to install your power supply for this. So you can even do this without a CPU, without memory, without a graphics card.
And that's also needed because sometimes you have a board with old BIOS and just a new series release, but it's not supported by the BIOS yet.
Yeah.
How to then flash the BIOS because it will not boot. So with this feature, you without CPU, just power and a USB key, you can flash your BIOS.
Yep. So also later on, if you want to use this board with a future generation AM5 CPU perhaps, that is not yet supported out of the box, you can just use this. The other one, clear CMOS button.
Sorry.
That one does exactly what it says. It clears your CMOS. So if you want to go
And
back
also
to
on
BIOS
these
defaults,
boards we have it.
yeah,
And this one also has it, but only the clear
that one only has the clear
CMOS
CMOS, not
button.
the Flash BIOS button.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's hidden, so it's not that you can push it by accident.
Yeah.
What else, Mike?
All boards nowadays have the pre-installed I/O shield. Well, at least all boards in this launch. It is possible that in the future we will have more affordable models that don't have this, but at least it is a very common thing nowadays.
Yeah.
This used to be a feature for high-end models. Then it trickled down to the mid-range, and now also the more entry-level boards, so including, for example, B840 boards, have this pre-installed I/O shield. So no longer possible to lose the I/O shield, no longer possible to forget to install it, and then when
By
your
the
system...
way, this scratch here, it's from my kit.
Yeah, that was definitely my kit.
Yeah.
And it is a big scratch as well.
It's a big scratch, and it was brand new.
No, it wasn't, because you already made a scratch.
I'm hiding it. It's below this mainboard. Aren't those of these buttons too close to each other? No, no problem. Just show us, Mike. Well, I mean, I have like fat fingers, and it's. Can you show the mainboard? Yeah. So easy. Can you push them both? No, you can actually not push them both.
No, they have a height difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to see, but you see they have a height difference.
Yeah. So it is very easy to press one of the two without pressing the other one. Yeah. On the back of these motherboards, you also have the keep out zone, where you will have your spacers from the case to the motherboard, and you have double ESD protection as well. So you see the tiny pins right here. Yeah. Maybe you can go to the slide, then you can see it a little bit bigger, what it looks like, because it is very tiny when you show it up close. So basically, this is where you will screw your motherboard into your case. Always make sure also that those spaces are in the correct position for your motherboard, so you don't accidentally damage the back of your motherboard. Oh, you want me to hurry up?
No, I mean we only have like you have more slides. No. It's not a number of slides. You're talkative today.
Okay.
Tom said it.
Okay, I will talk less.
Yeah.
Next thing.
But why do you say next thing? You can just move on. That's extra time.
This is also extra. Easy connect. And that's pretty cool because we have the JAF connectors. So we already introduced this in previous generation. You need to switch to your camera in order to do this. It differs per motherboard what kind of connector you will find. So here you see the JF1 connector. So this is the EasyCom connector that combines PWM signal with addressable RGB. Those are the two signals that are carried by. So basically, it is these two headers combined into one header, and then you get this. That also means that, for example, a lot of liquid coolers you can connect through a single connector. On certain higher end boards,
Is it that one?
yeah. So for example, here I have our Edge board, and this one has the JF2. So this is the second generation. This still has the PWM signal for the fan. It still has the addressable RGB signal for the RGB, but it also carries a USB signal. So if you use like a higher end liquid cooler with, for example, a screen in there, you can also control that through this header. And you don't need to sacrifice one of your USB headers. You can use it for other stuff.
Less cables.
Yeah, less cables. So here you only theoretically need a single header for PWM, addressable RGB, as well as USB, if there is something you need to control as well.
Bye-bye, Tom.
Maybe
it's not called Tom, just Factom.
Just Factom. Oh, bye Factom. This is something that you will find on B850.
He actually asked his boss to be here.
That's good preparation.
Yeah.
Good job, good job. This JF2 header, so with the USB signal, you can find on B850 Edge, where we just showed it on, but also on B850 Tomahawk Max Wi-Fi. Easy front panel cable. Let's maybe unbox this B850
we have
Tomahawk
another one.
here. Yeah, we have another one that's still hidden.
Okay.
Let's make some more space. Maybe you can unbox this in front of the camera. That's always nice. You can show what's in there. I will just quickly walk behind you.
I have a board. What is this? Can I damage this? Or
No,
is
you
this,
cannot damage this because I borrowed that one.
Oh.
That's also why
So
I'm
we have
quickly
the
grabbing
board.
the.
One moment. Then there shouldn't be too much in this one. Oh, we have cable. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, more.
That's the antenna you will find in there.
Can I open up everything and does it need to be?
No, you can quickly show it. And I took a separate cable from another motherboard that I want to show you in more detail.
Antenna. We have a lot of things here.
Yeah, SATA cable.
SATA cable. This is RGB.
Yep.
RGB cable. This is like an extra. Well, let me see. Like this.
Yeah, so
The
that's it.
ML2 Easy.
Easy M.2 Clip 2. Yeah.
Yeah. We have some sort of screwdriver for that.
That's to install the Easy M.2
it's
clips.
easy. Just put it on top. Ready. And another one.
Yep.
And another one. You got three. Okay.
This differs per model. Yeah.
So this is the extension
That's the
cord
cable
you
I
have.
wanted to show you up close.
Yeah.
So here you have an unpacked one.
Yeah.
This is the easy front panel cable, and basically it allows you to connect all those small annoying fiddly cables that you have from your case. So for the power button, the reset button, the
this
power
one
LED,
goes
all those
up
kind of things.
Here.
Yeah, and then you can directly install it on your motherboard. So you can just connect it to this cable in a convenient place rather than still having to do this while building your system.
Yeah.
Because that's not always easy to
I
reach.
have more stuff to show. What is this? Probably comes out of this.
Protection. Yeah.
Ooh, some nice
Stickers.
shiny stickers. And manuals. We don't. Quick guides. EU
EN9K says, very good point actually. I had that 10 plus years ago on my MSI Z68 board. Then you probably had the small block.
Yeah, the yellow block.
Indeed, it basically functions the same. Benefit of having a cable is that you can hide this behind your motherboard tray. So it functions the same, but this is a prettier way to do the same thing basically. But yeah, it is a feature that existed for a
The
while.
one who borrowed you this board, are they watching?
They better be watching you to see if you properly pack
That's
this
why I
again.
was asking.
Overwise says I only buy mainboards with good stickers. Fair point.
Oh, this is the extra one.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to. Which one is this? This is the B850 Tomahawk.
Yeah. These are the different antennas, or well, in this case it's actually a single type of antenna because we don't have what we call the chopsticks antennas anymore. Those were the two separate ones. Now it is a magnetic single stand antenna, and it also has an easy plug mechanism. So no more screwing, you can just plug it into the board directly.
Yeah, so Skeets is saying in the past you used to get a lot more. Well, that's true, but what more do you need? I mean, a lot of things are integrated.
A lot more what?
Things in the box. Cables and stuff, but I mean, M.2 is...
Yeah, like in the past, for example, storage is a big difference already because now you're just sticking out a 2 SD.
Yeah.
In the past, you got like 8 SATA cables. Now you don't even have 8 SATA ports anymore. Usually you have 4, and the rest are M.2.
and all the USB cables come with the devices you want to connect.
Yeah. So
So-
it doesn't make sense to bundle more usually.
No.
Easy debugging. So on the higher end boards, you will find the easy digi debug LED. So that one also gives you an error code. If there is a certain issue with your system, you can easily locate what it is. The other boards still have easy debug LED. So you can see if it's either in your CPU, memory, graphics card, etc. And easy memory detection LEDs to see if you have an issue with
We
your
only have
memory.
30 minutes left.
That's why I'm already
And
very quick.
probably only 20.
This was a very quick slide, right?
Okay.
Also easy source recognition, so this is a print on the motherboard and you can see if it what interface it supports, so if it only supports PCI Express or also SATA, for example for M.2 SSDs, and also where the lanes come from, so either from the CPU or the chipset. Headers we already talked about before, indicators on the back of the I.O. Both for speeds, so for USB memory speeds, but also like we saw before, the flash BIOS button, you know which port to use. One click to boost performance, so for example within MSI Center software you can easily optimize this by a single click. And click the new Click BIOS X or 10. How do you usually call it? X or 10?
Click BIOS.
Click BIOS, okay.
Yeah.
The new Click BIOS.
Yeah. No need to talk too much about this because in a few weeks' time, I would say we're going to have
spoiler alert, spoiler alert.
well,
No, that's okay. That's
we're going to have a dedicated live stream about our BIOS because
show you
so
all the ins and outs.
many things changed and there are so many possibilities.
You already see a couple on this slide, but there are way more options than are just indicated here. So Ruud will join us.
It's
and
a bit technical, but we will explain you very easy what you need to do where and how you, what it benefits you.
And on the right, you can already see the different looks that the different segments have for this new BIOS, for example. I think it looks really nice, but in a couple of weeks, a deep dive into our
We're going to have two versions, right? One AMD and one Intel, so we can also show the different namings or some overclocking options. It's not going to be a live stream like how to overclock, but more where to find the right options and what can you use them for.
Yeah. By the way, this new BIOS version is present on all these B-series boards. Doesn't matter if it's Intel or AMD, all those 800 series boards, including
X
the 800 series ones already on the market. Yeah. All 800 series for both Intel and AMD come with this new Click BIOS X. Mystic Light, I think most of you are already familiar with. Extensive control for a lot of devices. You can sync them up.
We should rename this to Mystic FPS.
Because you get an additional FPS, yeah, that's true. But not if you set them to white, right? It's only when you do RGB.
Yeah, only RGB.
And ambient link if you want to sync it up with your games. Then let's go to the different models. Starting off with the Intel B860 motherboards. We don't have all motherboards right here, but we do have a few. let's first talk about the Pro B860-A Wi-Fi. So this is within our Pro series. Comes with 12 phase VRM for the CPU, 6-layer server-grade PCB, Ultra Connect with 5 gigabit LAN with 557, easy PCI Express 2 clip we talked about. So already you can see that this also comes with pre-installed I/O shield already. That wasn't always the case in the past for this segment of motherboard. Frosted guard, all the nice cooling features. Then let's head over to the Dash P, and I think you have that one. So maybe let's show that one up close. I think you have the Wi-Fi version, but it's almost the same apart from the Wi-Fi.
Still deciding. So it's this one?
That one.
How can you tell? Okay, yeah, this Intel. Okay, yeah, correct.
So this one basically comes in multiple flavors, with and without Wi-Fi. It has a 12 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 VRM design with 6-layer PCB, Ultra Connect, so 5 gigabit LAN, Wi-Fi 7, pre-installed I/O shield, extended heatsink cooling. Here you, for example, don't see the SPDIF output. That is something you will only find on the higher end boards, but it does have Thunderbolt 4 connectivity as well on the USB Type-C.
Over here.
Yeah.
Difficult.
Then that's basically the feature set of the regular Dash B. The Wi-Fi version, of course, adds Wi-Fi 7. So the one with Wi-Fi 7 will have those connector points there. The one without doesn't. Then let's head over to our mortar boards. We don't have this one on hand, unfortunately, but this will be available in the market. It is the MAG B860M mortar Wi-Fi. So this is a micro ATX motherboard. It has 12 times 60 amp Dr. Moss for specifically the V-core, the CPU. Ultra Connect, so offers 5 gigabit LAN, full speed Wi-Fi 7 and Thunderbolt 4. It also has the easy PCIe release button, so those you don't find on the Pro models that we just talked about, but you will find on the MAG models. And yeah, that's the mortar for you, and 3 times M.2 by the way. Then heading over to the bigger brother, the Tomahawk, and that one we do have here.
Is this the Intel one?
Yeah, that's the Intel one. That's the correct one. No? Oh, sorry,
No.
you unpacked the other one. That's the one. Yeah, of course, but this one came from the box.
That was like...
This is the one.
Okay, this is going to be a bit difficult because of a green screen.
Yeah, because it has some green yellowish accents on the heatsinks. But this is the MAG B860 Tomahawk Wi-Fi. It also comes with a 12-phase VRM, but in this case it's 60 amp smart power stages for the V-core, so for the CPU. It also has 3 M.2 slots, whereas the primary one, the Gen 5 one, also has the easy PCIe. The easy M.2 shield frozzer. It also comes with the easy PCIe release button right there.
Like that. You want to demonstrate easy?
Yeah, that worked.
One finger.
And now show with your other finger the easy PCIe release button.
Oh.
No? Other side.
What?
The PCIe release button.
Oh, that one. I need to... Everything...
Yeah, there.
Everything is a mirror for me, so...
So this is the bigger brother. Also Ultra Connect, so comes with 5 gigabit LAN, full speed Wi-Fi 7, as well as Thunderbolt 4 connectivity on I/O.
Oh yeah.
And this segment of boards, for example, doesn't have the 3 analog audio outputs, but it comes with 2 analog outputs as well as SPDIF. By the way, there is a second USB Type-C port, but that's not a Thunderbolt one. So closely look at the icon. The one on top with the lightning bolt is the Thunderbolt one. The other one is, I think it's at 10 gigabit per second, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
And that was the Tomahawk. Then let's head over to AMD with the B850 and B840 models. Starting off with B840, we don't have this specific model on hand, but this is the Pro B840-P Wi-Fi. It comes with a direct 7-phase VRM. It's on a 6-layer PCB. it has 2.5 gigabit LAN, so that is a difference with B850, because B840, our boards come with 2.5 gigabit LAN, but it does feature full speed 320 megahertz Wi-Fi 7. It also comes with the Easy M.2 Clip 2, Easy M.2 Shield Frozzer 2, Easy Antenna, and Easy PCIe Clip 2. So still a lot of DIY features, even on this relatively entry-level motherboard. In terms of M.2, you get 2 M.2 slots. Then for this one, we don't have any images yet. That's how soon
NDA.
No, it's not NDA anymore.
Okay. So what's the difference between the previous one? This is right?
This is a B851. The other one was a B841, but also B850M-A is a micro ATX motherboard, so not a full ATX one. Comes with a direct 8-phase 60 amp VRM design, server grade 6-layer PCB. A lot of the easy DIY features that we talked about before, also the easy con design with the combined PWM and addressable RGB header. This is not a Wi-Fi version, so no Wi-Fi 7 on this board, but it does come with a 5 gigabit LAN. And because this is an AMD board, it is a Realtek 5 gigabit LAN like you will find on all B850 boards. Also comes with 2 M.2 slots. Then, this is basically the same motherboard, but with the Wi-Fi addition. So in terms of feature set, identical, but comes with Wi-Fi 7 320 megahertz as well. Then let's head over to our ATX boards, starting off with the Pro B850-P Wi-Fi, and that's this board. This one has a 12 dual-rail power system for the CPU, 6-layer server-grade PCB. This one has 3 M.2 slots, of course being a full ITX motherboard, so a little bit more space to work with as well. A lot of the easy DIY features, so Easy M.2 Clip 2, Easy M.2 Shield Frozzer 2, Easy Antenna, and Easy PCI Express Clip, not the release button that you will find in the gaming models. In terms of connectivity, you have both 5 gigabit LAN Realtek as well as the full speed Wi-Fi 7 320 megahertz solution. And that is our Pro B850-P Wi-Fi for you. Next boards, and then we're going into gaming models, but we're going back to B840 because we also have a B840 Gaming Plus Wi-Fi. This one, unfortunately, we don't have on hand.
What makes a motherboard gaming and non-gaming?
I think
Too difficult question. Then we cut this out. But
it usually depends on the feature set, but also the look and feel.
Yeah.
Because in terms of feature set, this is actually very close to our Pro Series motherboards, but where for our Pro Series it has a more modest look and feel. Here you will find the MSI Gaming Dragon
the
logo.
VRM can be a bit stronger.
Yeah, but yeah, it very much depends because this is more of an entry-level gaming board, and in terms of specification,
so
it is very close to the Pro
If you want anything AMD, but you're not into overclocking, perfect.
E9K says marketing. Yeah, it is a kind of marketing, but also preference thing. Like if you want a gaming look and feel, then you may want to have a nicer board with the Dragon logo. Some of these boards also come with more M.2 Shield Frozzers. Depends on the exact SKU, because this one only has a single one, whereas Pro boards usually have fewer. But yeah, it all depends on what you want. Basically, it's providing more options.
All boards, even the Pro boards, have RGB.
No.
Not all?
Also, these boards don't have RGB. They have RGB headers.
Yeah, sorry. All boards have an RGB header.
Yeah,
that's what I meant
correct.
to say.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But both the Pro boards, but also this board doesn't have RGB on the board itself.
No.
But yeah, you can definitely add it through the headers. It is a B840 board, so it comes with 2.5 gigabit LAN as well as the full speed 320 megahertz on Wi-Fi 7 and 2 M.2 slots. So as you can see in terms of specification, a lot of overlap with the Pro models, but with a bit of a gaming look and feel. Then let's head over to the B850M Gaming Plus Wi-Fi. So being a B850M board, it is micro ATX, and instead of the B840, this is a B850 board. It has a direct 8-phase 60 amp power delivery for the CPU. It's on a 6-layer PCB, 2 M.2 slots. It has 5 gig LAN, because it's a B850 board, as well as the full-featured Wi-Fi 7, and it comes with Easy M.2 Clip 2, Easy M.2 Shield Frozzer 2, Easy Antenna, and Easy PCIe Clip 2. Then heading over to the bigger brother, the full ATX B850 Gaming Plus Wi-Fi, a 12 dual rail power system for the CPU, 6-layer PCB, where the micro ATX had 2 M.2 slots, this one has 3, comes with both 5 gigabit LAN and full speed Wi-Fi 7 320 megahertz, and all of the easy DIY good stuff. Then we're heading over into the MAG segment, starting off with the MAG B850M Mortar Wi-Fi. So this is the micro ATX model.
No sample on hand?
No sample on hand. It has a 12 dual rail power system with 60 amp smart power stages for the CPU. So this is a very strong VRM design. This also can easily run an overclocked Ryzen 9. You can do on a board like this as well.
So people are saying everything is easy, you hope for easy price. If you're going to buy this, then you don't want to be an early adapter, because in the beginning there's always shortage, there are not a lot of competitors bought on the market, so price will drop after some period on the market. So just wait for this and check with your local resellers.
Early after release, it's usually also shipped in by air, which is more expensive than by
5 times
by
more
boat.
expensive.
Yeah. So eventually the prices usually come down a bit.
Yeah.
5 gig LAN as well as full speed Wi-Fi 7. This one also comes with the easy PCI Express release button instead of just a clip. And yeah, that's the feature set of the B850M Mortar Wi-Fi. Then let's head over.
Action Brother has an interesting point. Honest question: why the blue accent colors? To push people to more expensive boards without an accent color that nobody uses. Well, yeah, I mean the color that's is one thing. Of course, the specs are also different. And the color blue, I don't know who picked that. Not me. I prefer red, gaming red in this segment.
Yeah, that's what we used to have as the gaming combination.
Indeed.
But basically it is to differentiate between the different segments.
I think they sync the color blue also with the monitors. They have also some monitors in this segment, so it's not really MAG, MPG, MEG gaming, but below that.
Yeah, and that's also why in terms of specifications, those boards that fall outside of MAG, MPG, MEG segment are in terms of specs usually quite close to the pro boards. Yeah. But they have a bit of a gaming look and feel with it, and sometimes some additional cooling features. Those are the main differences.
And best always to check what specs you really need. Yeah. I mean, look and feel is one thing, but specs are more important.
Yeah. Then this one you just unboxed, so this one we can show.
That's this. Well, okay. It's AMD.
Yep, correct. So the MAG B850 Tomahawk Max Wi-Fi. This has an even stronger power design, so it's a 14 dual rail power system with 80 amp smart power stages for the CPU. It has an 8-layer PCB. It comes with 5 gigabit LAN as well as a full featured Wi-Fi 7.
Our green screen is eating the green.
This one also has a lot of the easy DIY features, including the easy PCI Express release button. And maybe you can also show all the nice M.2 slots on this board. Oh?
Sorry, guys, don't get seasick.
Ah, there we go.
These are the real colors.
Yep. Yeah, so that's why our green screen struggles a bit with it.
Yeah. Well, what do you want me to show?
Everything. The easy PCI release button, and here you can see that this is an MAG board, and you also see that the primary slot here is single-sided M.2 shield frother, and that's, for example, one of the differences with the MPG Edge that we will see in a minute, because that one has some dual-sided M.2 shield frother.
One side and not on the bottom.
Yeah, correct.
And you can actually put it back on with one hand.
I see a fantastic question in Twitch chat. Will there be any white motherboards for AMD? Heading over to the next one, MPG B850 HDI Wi-Fi. There is our white AMD motherboard, and that's the one we also have right here. This one also has a 14 dual rail power system with 80 amp smart power stages for the CPU. It comes with a server grade 8-layer PCB. So this is our highest end. Yeah, you can peel it, Eric. You can peel it. This is our highest end B850 board in the current lineup. Oh, it's ASMR.
We want to enjoy this.
Okay, I'll be silent for a minute.
Oh shit.
Those are the special effects, and then you screwed up?
Yeah, okay. Maybe, what is this?
That's the cover.
I think it's stuck below the cover.
No, you can pull it
Yeah?
up from underneath, yeah.
Oh, it works.
I know, because I just did an unboxing video with the brother of this board. You're very bad at peeling plastic.
It's not my profession.
No, I can see that.
it's my dream job.
So also in terms of feature set, this is the highest end board in the current B850 lineup. It comes with 4 M.2 slots, of which 2 are PCI Express Gen 5. All of them are equipped with M.2 Shield Frozr. If you pop up the primary one, you also see the dual-sided M.2 Shield Frozr. So that is, yeah, that one. So where on the Tomahawk it's only cooled from the top, here it's also cooled from the bottom. So there's a separate heatsink underneath with an additional cooling pad.
I need to, one hand, cool.
Of course, also comes with the easy PCI Express release button for the graphics card. It has the JF2 connector, including the USB signal, in addition to the PWM.
Is this RGB LED or just shiny?
Good question, actually, because I haven't powered this on before, so I'm not entirely sure.
The photos, what do they say?
They show RGB, so I think the
Then
Dragon
it's-
itself
yeah.
is RGB as well. You want to see if we can illuminate it? Shall I
Do you have
try
a
to
cable?
find? I'm gonna see if the cable is nearby somewhere, because we have a cable where we can.
Mike is walking away.
I'm quickly leaving to see if I can find the cable, because that's a whole different story.
Okay, but you probably used it last Friday?
Well, I didn't. Our video editor did.
Oh. And he's cleaning up stuff? Or should I look below the
Apparently.
desk?
Maybe it's underneath the desk.
Probably.
I don't see it at least.
We don't have a cable mess over here.
No, not at all. We're very good at cable management, as you can all see. This is why I love back connect motherboards. You don't see that. No, but I cannot find our cable that quickly.
Maybe he took it home.
But yeah, this is indeed RGB illuminated. What else shall we talk about? Maybe the I/O, because this one also has a. You just turned
It's
it.
quite heavy.
It is quite heavy because there is a lot of cooling on there. This one comes with 3 USB Type-C ports. And I think all of them are 10 gigabit per second, or is there 20 as well?
This
You
10,
can see
this
what
10,
they are.
this 10.
There's HDMI on there, a couple other USB Type-A ports, optical audio output on the right, in addition to the 2 analog ones, and both the clear CMOS and the flash BIOS button, and an HDMI port. Action Bar is asking, what is that 8-pin power connector at the bottom? So that's the PCIe power connector. So it's actually a 6+2 pin, the one that you would also use for graphics cards. And that basically allows a 2.5 times power excursion on the motherboard. So if you want to use a lot of devices on your motherboard,
A lot of RGB, a lot of M.2,
a lot of add-in cards in your
graphic
PC,
cards, yeah.
then you can connect it to help a little bit with that. So that sums it up for our B-series Intel and AMD motherboards. It was a lot of boards and a lot of information.
A lot of talking by you.
A lot of talking. So let's maybe reward our viewers with 2 more Steam wallet codes
I can do that.
for all their patience.
I can do that. We only did 2 today. We're behind.
Yeah, so that's why we should do 2.
I'm going to 3.
Okay, then you can send them out.
I'm going to.
It's all your choice.
So if I do 2, you will send them out?
Yeah.
And if I do 3,
you
I
have
will
to
send them out.
That's correct. Okay, chat. Who do you want to send them out?
No. I love those guys. I'm going
Okay.
to do 3.
So please be informed that your codes may arrive a little bit later than usual, because that means Eric will send them out.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to do 3.
So 3 more winners.
After
for
this
Steam wallet.
long talk from you, they deserved it.
Okay.
Those who are,
Those who survived my talk.
Yeah. One moment. So the first winner is Anna.
Anna, congratulations. You also won a Steam wallet code.
What is this name?
Oh, that's okay. Velimir VG? Velimir VG, I think.
Okay, well, that one wins as well.
You also won a Steam Wallet Code. Congratulations. Sorry for completely butchering your name, by the way.
And then
that one is doable.
The last winner is Max Bunny.
Congratulations, Max Bunny. You also won a Steam Wallet Code. So congrats again to all winners. Keep an eye out in your mailbox. Eric will email the codes to you within a month. I hope.
Within a year.
Yeah.
Deadline
if you're
in
lucky,
December.
it's still there within 2025.
Yeah. I will fix this probably tomorrow. Yeah, should be doable, I guess. Or Friday. We will see.
Oh, that's heavy.
Next week.
Oh, that's heavy.
Ooh.
Oh, let's make some space.
Can we open it up? Or not?
Yeah, we can take a sneak peek.
It's heavy. But this is...
It's
nice.
It's all very nicely packed. If you want to see what's inside, join us next week because we have some nice...
They already know it's power supply.
Of course they do.
No.
They already saw from the box, right?
Okay. So this next week, Mankit and Ruud. So Ruud will be there to do the technical part.
Usually when it's power supplies, I would do it, but I will be on my holiday. So I'll be chilling on Italian mountains skiing. And mostly drinking beer.
Yeah, mostly drinking beer. That's what I was
skiing from bar to bar.
Yeah, indeed.
So next week it will indeed be Ruud and Mankit who will present you with these new high-end MSI power supplies.
We have more, probably more. I mean, still need to arrive.
One is still on its way. Different series, so hopefully we can show you that one as well next week.
Yeah. Blind box, no.
Yeah, so make sure to be here next week, same place, same time. Thank you so much for joining
Different people
today.
and hopefully some of you with a game code.
Yeah. And hopefully the people who won today will have received their game code by then. Would be nice.
Yeah. Would be really nice. Thank you all. Take care.
Thank
Have a
you.
nice week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.